You know that feeling, right? That little pang of dread when you open up the AWS bill and it's bigger than you expected? Yeah, we've all been there. The cloud is amazing, but man, it can quietly drain your budget if you're not paying attention. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on two incredibly simple but powerful levers you can pull to make a serious dent in those costs. Let's jump right in.
So, is your cloud bill leaking money? It's a great question, and let's be real, it's rarely some giant, gushing fire hydrant of a leak. No, it's more like a slow, steady drip, drip, drip of waste. You know, when your teams are moving fast, they're focused on building and shipping cool stuff, not pinching pennies. But over time, those little drips, they can turn into a flood.
So where is all this money actually going? Well, it almost always comes down to the gap between what you pay for, that's your provisioned capacity, and what you actually use. Think about it like this. It's like renting a massive semi-truck just to move one cardboard box across town. You're still paying for all that empty space. And in the world of AWS, that empty space is unused compute power that's racking up charges on your bill. And that brings us to our very first and maybe most powerful lever for plugging that leak, right-sizing. The concept here is just so direct and simple. It's all about making sure the resources you're paying for actually match the job they need to do. No more, no less.
Now, right-sizing, it's really a balancing act, right? It's not just about making everything smaller. It's about carefully modifying your resources, your CPU and your RAM, so they perfectly match what your application actually needs to perform well, all at the lowest possible cost. It's all about hitting that perfect sweet spot between performance and price.
Okay, so how do you actually find these opportunities? It's way easier than you might think. It's really just a simple three-step process. First, you've got to analyze your usage metrics. Tools like CloudWatch are your best friend here. Second, listen to what AWS is telling you. Consult the recommendations from AWS Compute Optimizer. And third, focus your energy where it counts by targeting a few key services that are notorious for waste. And if you're wondering where to point your magnifying glass first, these three services are absolutely the low-hanging fruit. Your EC2 instances, your EKS node groups, and your RDS databases. These are almost always the biggest line items on an AWS bill. They're the workhorses of your infrastructure, which also means they're the most common places to find some really significant savings. All right, on to our second lever, scheduling. And honestly, the logic here is so simple, it's brilliant. If you're not using something, for goodness sake, turn it off. Why should you be paying for it? Now, the key here, and this is really important, is non-production environments. We're talking about all those dev, test, and staging servers. They're absolutely critical when your engineers are coding away during the workday. But what about at 2 in the morning on a Sunday? They're just sitting there burning electricity and money completely idle. But guess what? You're still paying for every single hour. Scheduling is just the simple, common sense practice of turning them off. And the best part? You don't have to stay up late clicking buttons to do this. The most effective pattern is just shutting down those dev and test environments on nights and weekends. I mean, that can slash over 60% of the cost for those instances right there. You can automate this super easily with tools like AWS Lambda or the pre-built AWS Instance Scheduler. You can even tell your auto-scaling groups to scale down to 0 when nobody's around. So, think about it. When you combine the super smart precision of right-sizing with the just plain old common sense of scheduling, the impact is, well, it's huge. We are not talking about saving a few pennies here. These simple, targeted changes can turn into major, major wins for your budget. Get this. Teams that really commit to these two simple levers, right-sizing and scheduling, they're not just saving a few bucks. We're talking about a realistic 20 to 30% cut from their total AWS spend. That is serious money that you can put back into hiring another engineer or building that next killer feature. This isn't some made-up number. It's the real-world result of just being a little more intentional about cloud waste. Okay, so you're probably thinking, this sounds great, but where on earth do I even start? Don't worry, we've got you. The best way to get going is with some quick, super low-risk wins. So here's a simple checklist of things you could literally start doing tomorrow morning to see some results. And look, the key word for everything on this list is low risk. You're starting by just looking, just reviewing things before you touch a single setting. Identify your top idle instances. Review what Compute Optimizer is telling you. By taking these small, safe steps, like scheduling just one dev environment for a weekend shutdown, or downsizing one over-provisioned non-prod database, you build confidence, you deliver immediate value, and you create that momentum you need for even bigger changes down the road. So there you have it. We've talked about the problem, these silent leaks in your cloud bill, and the two incredibly powerful levers you can pull to fix it.
We even gave you a safe, easy checklist to get started. So now, really, the only question left is the most important one. Looking at your own setup, what's the first thing you'll optimize?